Welcome to Ships Curious, where we explore the legends, the logistics, and the innovations that have shaped the seas, and ask what waves are coming next. Today, we're diving into a fascinating journey, the biggest ships ever built in human history. From gigantic oil tankers to luxury floating cities, these machines are so massive that they almost defy imagination. But behind their size are secrets of engineering, economics, and sometimes tragedy. Let's set sail. When most people think of big ships, they picture a modern cruise liner like Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas. And yes, it's true. The Icon, launched in 2024, is currently the largest cruise ship in the world, stretching an unbelievable 365 meters long and weighing over 250,000 gross tons. It can carry nearly 10,000 people on board, passengers and crew combined. That's the population of a small town, floating at sea with restaurants, theaters, water parks, and even neighborhoods. But the cruise industry is only one piece of the puzzle. Some of the largest ships ever built were never meant for fun vacations. Instead, they were designed to move oil, gas, containers, or even entire armies across oceans. Let's start with the king of them all, the Seawise Giant. Built in 1979, this enormous oil tanker remains the longest ship ever constructed, measuring a jaw-dropping 458 meters. That's longer than 4 football fields placed end to end, and even longer than the height of the Empire State Building. It was so massive that it couldn't fit through key shipping routes like the Panama Canal or even the English Channel. Instead, it could only operate in deep, open waters, transporting millions of barrels of crude oil at a time. But the Seawise Giant wasn't just big, it was tough. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, it was attacked by fighter jets and sunk in shallow waters. Most ships would have been written off, but this giant was salvaged, repaired, and sailed again under new names, including Yara Viking and Knock Nevis. It finally retired in 2009 and was scrapped, but it remains a legend of engineering, proof that human ambition at sea knows almost no limits. Of course, oil tankers weren't the only giants. In the world of container ships, size has also become a symbol of efficiency. Modern cargo ships are like conveyor belts of the global economy, carrying the goods we use every single day, from smartphones to cars to clothing. Take the Ever Ace, launched in 2021. At 400 meters long and able to carry over 23,000 shipping containers, it's one of the largest container ships ever built. Each voyage can transport the equivalent of 300,000 cars or billions of individual products. These ships are the silent workhorses of globalization. Without them, online shopping, international trade, and the fast supply chains we depend on would collapse, but there's a hidden risk. Their very size makes them vulnerable. Remember the Ever Given, the container ship that famously got stuck in the Suez Canal in 2021? For 6 days, it blocked one of the busiest trade routes on Earth, costing the global economy billions of dollars per day. That incident showed the world that bigger isn't always better. Sometimes it's a gamble. Cruise ships, on the other hand, represent a different kind of ambition. They're not about moving cargo, but about creating floating cities where the journey itself is the destination. And as the industry grows, the ships keep getting bigger. The Icon of the Seas, which we mentioned earlier, is part of this trend. It's not just a ship. It's a marketing statement, a symbol of how cruise lines compete to attract travelers. These ships now include roller coasters, skydiving simulators, and even entire neighborhoods with their own parks. The question is, how big can cruise ships actually get before they hit physical and economic limits? Naval architects suggest we're already close, since anything much larger than today's mega cruise ships becomes too difficult to maneuver in ports and harbors. Now, let's talk about naval ships, the giants of military power. The biggest warships in history are the aircraft carriers, floating air bases capable of projecting power anywhere in the world. The current record holder is the USS Gerald R. Ford, commissioned by the U.S. Navy in 2017. At over 100,000 tons and 333 meters long, it can carry more than 75 aircraft and is equipped with advanced launch systems that can fire planes into the air with electromagnetic force instead of traditional steam catapults. This ship isn't just big, it's a symbol of dominance at sea. And unlike cruise ships or cargo carriers, its purpose isn't comfort or trade, but pure strategic power. But perhaps the most fascinating question is, why do we build such giant ships at all? The answer comes down to two forces: economics and prestige. From an economic standpoint, bigger ships mean efficiency. A single ultra-large container ship can replace dozens of smaller ones, cutting costs per unit and lowering emissions per ton of cargo. Oil tankers like the Seawise Giant made crude transport vastly cheaper in the late 20th century, and mega cruise ships maximize profit by fitting more passengers on a single voyage while offering endless ways for them to spend money on board. Prestige, though, is just as important. Countries and companies use massive ships as symbols of power and influence. Just as skyscrapers mark dominance on land, giant ships declare it at sea. That's why nations invest billions in aircraft carriers, not only for military power, but also for status on the global stage. Of course, there are limits. Building giant ships requires specialized shipyards, massive investment, and unique infrastructure at ports. Not every harbor can welcome a megaship, and many older canals and waterways can't handle them. This creates a paradox. We build ships that are so large they outgrow the very world they're meant to travel in. So where does the future go? Experts predict two main paths. On one hand, we'll likely continue to see larger cruise ships and container ships, but within practical limits. On the other, technology may shift focus toward efficiency rather than size. Concepts like autonomous ships, nuclear-powered vessels, and green shipping technologies might matter more than just building the next record breaker. Imagine a future where cargo ships sail themselves across oceans with zero emissions, guided by AI and powered by renewable energy. Or where luxury cruise liners become floating eco-cities, recycling their own water, generating their own power, and leaving minimal environmental footprints. In the end, the story of the world's biggest ships is really the story of human ambition. From the Seawise Giant to the icon of the seas, from aircraft carriers to container colossuses, each vessel reflects a moment in history when humanity asked itself, how far can we go? And each time the answer has been the same, further than we ever thought possible. So next time you see a ship, whether it's a cargo carrier at port or a cruise ship leaving the harbor, remember, it's not just a vessel. It's part of a much bigger story about engineering, economics, and the endless human drive to conquer the seas. This is Ships Curious. Thank you for joining us on this first voyage. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to subscribe, because we'll keep exploring the legends, the logistics, and the innovations of the maritime world. Until next time, fair winds and following seas.